All right, everybody, welcome back to the Pop Culture Corner. Today, we're going to be looking at Nerdrotic on our episode of Combating Hate. I know for a fact in this video specifically, he's talking about how Hawkeye is a flop, and we kind of looked at this last night on Jarbo's channel and where they're getting their information from. Originally, I was gonna react to like Friday Night Tights. That way I could get my bang for my buck and be able to do 9 at once. But I decided to go a different way because I think this is going to be a little bit better for today, at least. I'm still going to do Friday Night Tights but I'm going to try to do them each individually, and then we'll look at Friday Night Tights and how it goes when they all get together. We know that they create their own echo chambers. We know that they use each other as sources. We know these things. We know it. Hands down, it's pretty much it's not avoidable. All you have to do is follow the money trail, and you can see. So basically, to preface what is going on here is he's saying Hawkeye is a flop. Now, that the reason they're targeting Hawkeye is not because of the quality of the show, not because they think it's not good television. It's because of certain scenes where they think they went woke, right? So there's a scene where, spoilers, by the way, there's a scene where one of the LARPers is a cop, and she's talking about how her wife gave her a bag, embroidered bombshell on it, which is actually a nod to the comic book character that she is. She's a villain known as Bombshell. And it was just a nod to that. And yeah, she's gay. Who cares? Why is that why is that something we're wasting our time with? Why? I don't understand that. It was a subtle pass. But no, they take it out of context. They blow it out of proportion. And now they want to spin their narratives to match that. And they're saying Hawkeye is a flop. But they're comparing Hawkeye to a stat that put Hawkeye against Loki season premiere. Loki's arguably the biggest show of 2021, right? Of course, Hawkeye wasn't going to do as well as that. It's like Loki was a cultural phenomenon. Hawkeye, of course, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be like too much lower, and I'm still not convinced that it is. But I don't think Hawkeye was ever going to be as big as Loki was. But it's not a flop by any means. So let's take a look at what Nerdrotic. Now, again, prefacing this, what he's saying is false. All you have to do is click a couple times and figure that out. Now, let's go from there and hear his terrible takes as a result.
That I'm going to review the first 3 episodes of Hawkeye after watching season 1 of Daredevil because that is the best of the best, but I'm going to do it anyway. So if you were looking for that hard, gritty, violent Clint Barton Hawkeye series, which his character really does deserve because he's one of the most underdeveloped characters in the MCU, well, this isn't it because it's the Kate Bishop show. Come on.
And I don't understand why
Hawkeye
that's
is the 5th and final Marvel series to air on Disney Plus this year. And if you count Sony films, we've already gotten 4 Marvel movies this year with 1 to go. That's a lot of Marvel. And while there are people who, of course, are going to love this series because at least they try to have fun in this, it still suffers from what is Marvel's biggest problem this year. Is it Marvel fatigue? No. Is it superhero fatigue? No. It's bad storytelling fatigue. And maybe that has something to do with Disney stock slumps after streaming growth falls. Disney shares sank as much as 9% Thursday after media conglomerate posted earnings that missed Wall Street expectations and revealed a significant slowdown in its flagship Disney Plus streaming service. Now, to be fair to Disney, they never said they were going to give us something hard and gritty. We always knew we were going to get a PG Hawkeye that was supposed to be the Die Hard of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the only thing it has in common with Die Hard is Christmas. Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with Jeremy Renner's performance or Haley Seinfeld's, who gives a good effort at making the character Kate Bishop not.
Okay. I'm very unclear on if that was a joke or not, because that's not her name. That's not her name. It's Steinfeld, not Seinfeld. So I every fiber in my body wants to believe that he was just joking there. But knowing who this idiot is, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't call him a name. I'm sorry. Knowing who this guy is tells me that he doesn't actually know that her name isn't Seinfeld. It's Steinfeld.
Not as insufferable as she is in the comic books. I really can't blame the character. What's truly insufferable is modern writing in modern Marvel comic books. How insufferable is it? I am literally intrigued and in awe of both of them. If this is what it's like to date other women, then I applaud all women dating other women right now, because this is incredible. Motorcycle courtship, chase, check. Missiles and explosions, yup. And now we're just flying together in the sky to a giant heart. I swear, if they come back married, I'm going to be so jealous. And never mind, we have comics written now where it's totally okay.
What the fuck was that? Why is this guy so insufferable? Why? Why is he so insufferable? I can't tell if it's his trucker hipster look or his penis looking microphone that gives it all away. I mean, if you all you do is tackle like you can't stand people being gay in any form of media. Usually that means that you're kind of yourself. I mean, I don't know, man. Look, that microphone looks really penis-like to me. I just don't get it. I don't know. I'm not,
to kill innocent store clerks and blue-collar workers in the name of the environment. The Hawkeye series is loosely based on Matt Fraction's run back in 2012 that I sold in my shop. It was very well received. It sold pretty decently, and I thought it was a bit overhyped, but okay. Who's Matt Fraction? Well, he's Mr. Kelly Sudaconic.
Would you please get your politics out of my comic books? I'm like, what comic books are you reading?
Fashion File. Buy and sell pre-owned ultra-luxury handbags, watches, accessories, and jewelry.
I'm fine. I just,
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
threw up in my mouth a little bit.
I would say so far in the first two episodes, Hawkeye is a loose adaptation of the Fraction run mixed in with the MCU with a lot of MCU sprinkled in.
Oh
the episodes.
That's another thing that they do that drives me insane. They like to say that's this little thing like MCU. It's really not bad to have female characters that are strong and developed in a cinematic universe, especially one is as diverse as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? If what you're doing as a studio isn't including as many people as you can and as many types of people as you can, that's a bad business model. It's a bad business model. That's it, right? If you don't include women, you're not doing it right. And there are so many strong and independent, powerful women in the comic books that it would literally be stupid of you as a studio to not include them. So like all these idiots like Doomcock, Geeks and Gamers, this trucker nerdrotic, trucker style hipster nerdrotic, penis microphone nerdrotic, all the guys that like can't stand it, that, oh my God, there can't be any gayness in my comic books or comic book movies. Like, who's the real problem? Who's the real problem? Is it the books and the movies, or is it you? I'm thinking it's you.
starts out in 2012. We get a little family moment with young Kate Bishop. We see her dad and her mom having an argument because her dad is obviously a loser and has some bad business dealing, and they might have to sell the penthouse they're in. Parents figure out Kate's eavesdropping. Dad goes upstairs, gives some fatherly advice, and then goes downstairs and dies because we can't have any good dads in Marvel, which I suppose is an improvement on the dad from the comics who has criminal dealings that lead to Kate Bishop getting kidnapped. He dies because this is the day of the Battle of New York City now. Before Kate gets taken away by her mom, she sees Hawkeye in action, giving Kate a bit of a hero complex, and at her dad's funeral, she asks for a bow and arrow. Then we head into the credits, and this is how I know it's the Kate Bishop show guest starring Hawkeye, because the opening credits are a montage of her origin.
Dude, no one ever was hiding the fact that this show was going to be and heavily revolve around the transition from Clint Barton's Hawkeye to Kate Bishop's. This show was always being told the way that it was a passing of the mantle kind of thing. It drives me insane that people like this, they just don't, they basically warp everything to spin it so that it aligns with their narratives and that whatever picture they're painting that day. It's so cringe. It's so bad. Marvel said this a while back that Kate Bishop was going to be predominant in this series. It was always going to be a Kate Bishop show, and it had Hawkeye as the mentor figure. So why are we tackling that? Why is we targeting that now to paint your anti-SJW mindset? It makes me so angry.
To present day, and we're still on Kate Bishop because this is the Kate Bishop show. She's in college. She climbs a wall. She knocks down a bell in a bell tower, gets in a little trouble, says she's sorry to mom, and then goes to a charity auction. At this point, my normie friend, you're probably wondering, why is Kate Bishop called Hawkeye and Clint Barton called Hawkeye? Why can't they give Kate Bishop a different name like they did with Roy Harper in the Green Arrow, calling him Speedy, and then Red Arrow, and then eventually Arsenal? Short answer, they were lazy. Then we finally get to Hawkeye, Clint Barton's Hawkeye. He's with his family at Rogers the Musical, and we need to stop right there. It's not Captain Rogers.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about this. They are probably this guy's probably going to go so hard on that musical. I can't wait. I haven't watched this video yet, so this is like a first time reaction for me. But I can't wait to see what he says about the musical. Was it too flamboyant for you, Gary? Was it too homophobic? Was it too homophobic? Like, or no, was it not homophobic enough for you? Like, I'm super sorry, Gary from Nerdrotic.
It's Steve Rogers, Captain America. There have been plenty of attempts to get new Captain Americas in Marvel Comics, even recently with Sam Wilson, and it's never worked because Steve Rogers is Captain America, just like Clint Barton is Hawkeye and Peter Parker is Spider-Man. There's a reason Kate Bishop is known as Kate Bishop and Miles Morales is known as Miles Morales. Couple Rogers the musical with Sprite calling him Captain Rogers in the Eternals.
So now that Captain Rogers and Iron Man are both gone, who do you think's going to lead the Avengers?
And it's pretty clear Disney doesn't want you to refer to Steve Rogers as Captain America anymore. I wonder why is that? I digress. So Clint Barton and his family are watching Rogers the Musical. It's meant to be cheesy, but I don't know.
Dude, Captain Rogers was a thing far before any of this. It's just an ulterior insignia, if that's the right word. It's just alternative. Captain Rogers. That's what they would call him. Oh my God. This guy owns a comic book store? Are you fucking serious? This guy owns a comic book store? Holy shit.
If Disney realizes that Disney Plus Marvel series are the Rogers musical within the MCU. As with all Disney Plus series, there is a good concept buried beneath the overall Disney of everything. Back to Kate Bishop, because it's the Kate Bishop show, and we're off to a charity auction with her mom and the...
We should have done a counter of how many times he says the Kate Bishop show. We're going to start from here, and we'll buffer at 5. So we're at 5. How many times you guys, let me know in the comments, how many times you guys think he's going to say it's the Kate Bishop show in this 24-minute video? Let me know in the comments below. The winner, I'll give you guys I'll buy you a Christmas present. I'll get you like an Amazon gift card. Whoever guesses closest. I'm going to give you a minute to get them all in. Not that there's a lot of people, but you know what I mean. So give me your guesses, guys. How many times are you going to say it? I'm going to guess 23. 23 is, I think, is a good number. So, all right.
Swordsman from Marvel Comics, Jack Duquesne. This is where we get to my favorite part of both episodes, the auction heist. And yes, that's sarcasm. Now, Kate Bishop, like I said, has a hero complex. She hears somebody threatening her mom, so she follows this person, Armand Duquesne, who was Jack Duquesne's uncle, down to a black market auction. I don't know if this is part of the charity auction or not, where they're selling dinosaur skulls and the Ronin sword and costume, which were found in the wreckage of the Avengers mansion, making the Avengers the most irresponsible superhero team of all time, aside from not telling any countries, governments, organizations, or any other planets that you're bringing back half of the population of the universe. You also decide to just leave all of your shit around at the wreckage of your mansion. What'd you do? Just walk away? Again, I digress. Kate Bishop is snooping around this auction. She walks past a room where she sees some guys getting ready for something. And then one of the walls just explodes. After the wall explodes, our thieves are looking for a watch. You know how I know they're looking for a watch?
We've got 90 seconds to find a watch. Everything else is secondary.
That's right. The thieves who were observed in a room getting ready together and then went ahead and put masks on decided to tell us exactly what they were looking for and exactly how much time they were looking for it. During the confusion, Jack Duquesne steals the Ronin sword and Kate Bishop puts on the Ronin costume and starts fighting bad guys. We're not only shown in the animated montage origin that Kate is amazing, we're constantly told how amazing she is. That is MCU. This brings us to the first fight scene where the very green Kate Bishop, who just put on that costume, takes on 5 or 6 armed guys who weigh about 50 to 100 pounds more than she does. There's a part where she's fighting with wine bottles, and I think this is showing off her skills. I like this, and I will also note, I wish they would have done that a lot more with Hawkeye as well. But then there's this.
Wow.
And this. And this.
This is bullshit.
Oh, but she's not done fighting off 300-pound Russian guys. Remember that watch they were looking for? I'm sure you haven't forgotten. Well, one of the burglars ends up finding it, but then Deus Ex Dog comes in and randomly attacks him for no particular reason, and I'm not really sure what happened to the watch after this point, and they don't bring it up again. Kate saves the dog, somebody gets it on video, and that's important later. The act of saving the one-eyed dog, who's later named Lucky the Pizza Dog, saves Kate Bishop, but not before the bad guys see her, and we know the bad guys see her because one of the bad guys takes off his mask while all his friends yell his name so the audience could get a good look at Kazi, a character from the comics.
They're so stupid.
In the meantime, Clint sees on the news that Ronin is back and saving dogs. Now, this is something that's actually compelling that I would be interested in if this was the entire series. Now, once Clint sees Ronin on the news, there's a quick flashback of Ronin in Endgame. And the news lets us know that after terrorizing the New York Underground, Ronin hasn't been seen in years. So after accidentally stumbling into an auction that is selling black market Avengers costumes and weapons, then it gets broken into, then she puts on a costume and then beats off bad guys for the first time and then escapes and saves some dogs. She decides to go off to Armand's apartment where Armand is dead. Somebody comes home, so Kate has to leave. It's very important to point out that before she found Armand's body, she randomly comes across some monogrammed candy, which I'm sure will come into play later. This amazing decorated collegiate athlete...
Oh, that was tasteful. Good job, Gary.
Gets caught once again by the tracksuit mafia, who are called the tracksuit Draculas in the comics, and I prefer that name. She beats the crap out of them again, and then she locks herself in a car. The tracksuit mafia, not being the sharpest tools in the shed, completely forgot that they brought baseball bats to beat up Kate, and they didn't use them to break into the car. They also forgot that they had guns. Clint comes in and saves the day, drags her into an alley, and finds out that Ronin is a girl.
Hi, we are Woodger.
Ah!
What? That's right. The New York media, the tracksuit mafia, and Clint all thought this was a boy. And there's some actors in Hollywood where this would probably be totally acceptable. But this is Haley Steinfeld we're talking about. Then we get to the second episode where not much happens. The first 2 episodes are really all about taking 2 steps forward, then 5 steps back. This one slows to an...
No, again, not true. Not true at all. I don't understand where he's coming from, where 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. I don't even understand what that means. The first 2 episodes were great. They set up the story and the foundations of the story to be told. It just seems like he's miserable and nothing is ever good enough for him. And that's the thing about these guys. It just seems like nothing's ever good enough for them. There's not one single project that they're just like, wow, I actually like that. No, it's always something. And there's always some victim game that they need to play. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they did it to us again. It's just like, dude, like you're nauseating. You're so nauseating that to the point where it's like, do you have you smiled in the past 20 years? Like what's going to happen if you ever have a daughter and she watches you talk about women like this? I really would hate, honestly, actually, I would really love to be there when that happened. When your daughter starts asking you, Daddy, why did you make fun of women? Why did you target and harass women on the internet for years? That would be a really interesting thing. Oh, man.
Absolute crawl. So I'll be brief as possible. After the opening scene where Kate takes Clint back to her apartment and Clint explains to her that the Ronin costume has a lot of history and it's dangerous, the tracksuit mafia catches up with them again. Once again, they forgot they had guns, but they do have Molotov cocktails and they set the apartment on fire. Kate, Clint, and the dog are able to escape, but they had to leave behind the costume. And instead of, say, the tracksuit mafia getting the costume and doing something compelling, no, a firefighter ended up stealing the costume, and Clint has to go to some LARPing thing to get it back. They waste most of the episode doing this. I guess Disney's
perfect mix of creative excellence enhanced by data-driven audience insights
concluded that nerds like cosplay and LARPing. Instead of really digging into Ronin's past and maybe showing what he did over the last 5 years, I'm guessing those Avengers Endgame flashbacks are all we're going to see. And instead, we're getting a character study of Clint Barton, who was racked with guilt over that stuff we're not going to see. I mean, 10 minutes was spent on that LARPing scene and it was completely pointless. The other half is spent on Kate trying to unravel the mystery of what happened to our mom, and she automatically suspects Jack is up to something. Her mom either doesn't notice this at all because she's clueless or is in on it, and I'm guessing she's in on it. So there's this fencing scene between Jack and Kate. Jack is taking it easy on her, and she gets pissed off, so she tries to stab him in the face, and he disarms her, and that pisses her off even more, and she's trying to prove to her mom that Jack is hiding something. Now, remember Armand's monogrammed candy that Kate found that I said would come up later? Well, it comes up later. Jack offers her one after being forced to apologize to Jack. So Jack just admitted to the daughter of his fiance that he murdered his uncle, or it could be nothing. I guess we'll find out. And this is probably how it's going to go down. Jack thinks he's gaming Kate's mom, but Kate's mom is really gaming Jack. Kate's mom's the head of a security company, so that's why she has access to all these magical apps that can just track anybody anywhere, which makes things very convenient for plot. I don't know why. It's not like Jack has much to offer early on. Armand said he didn't have any money, but we all know that outside of our main titular characters, all Disney men are either duplicitous, weak, incompetent.
You know what? I'd be very, very shocked if anyone can spot a female in a female comic book character or any female in Nerdrotic's background. Please point it out to me, because I would be hard pressed to say that there is not one.
Evil or incompetently evil. Clinton had to send his family home, and he has 5 days until Christmas to fix this mess. because he promised to be home. So he tells his wife he's going to do a catch and release, and he gets himself caught on purpose by the tracksuit mafia. Kate goes to save him and fails miserably, and she ends up getting caught too. And she somehow manages to survive a 30-foot drop without a scratch. So both Clint and Kate are captured, and we heard earlier that she wants them alive, which I just assume because this is a Disney Plus series and there's no shortage of girl bosses. This brings us to the final scene,
Lord.
and I don't know if I was supposed to be impressed with this or this was supposed to be ominous. They told us in the closed captioning that ominous music was playing, but all I felt was nothing. This is supposed to be Marvel Comics, the realm of the extraordinary. Instead, we have the realm of the incredibly average. This is Echo, who is basically Lady Daredevil and Bullseye mix in a little bit of Elektra. In the comics, she doesn't have the most iconic costume in the world, but it's better than this. And this rounds out every Disney Plus series having a female villain. MCU. First it was Agatha. Remember, it was Agatha all along. Then we had Freckle Jesus. Then we had female Loki. All of these female villains have been previously victimized by either unjust systems or unjust men.
Really? 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 Come on. This is just lazy at this point. It's almost too easy. It's too easy. By the way, can anyone let's play that game. Can anyone spot a female in his background? Besides, you cannot say Gina Carano, because obviously Gina Carano was going to be there. And I'm still torn on that one. No, I don't think there's a female anywhere in this. God, he really hates Win. Like, he really hates them. It's amazing to me. Blows my mind.
And now we have Echo, who is, you guessed it, another previously victimized female villain. This brings us to the third episode, and guess what? We get another origin of a Z-list character in the Hawkeye show. You know who hasn't had a proper origin in the MCU? Hawkeye. That's right. We spend the first 8 minutes of this episode getting to know Echo, who definitely was a forerunner of the MCU back in Marvel Comics. Remember that cringe Taskmaster reveal in Black Widow?
Oh, no, no, no.
Well, they had something very similar happen a decade back in a comic called The New Avengers with the original Ronin when it was revealed to be Echo. And that reveal went down in my comic shop about as well as the Taskmaster reveal went down. A lot of chuckles, a lot of rolled eyes. Echo has the same powers as the Taskmaster. She can mimic movements. She is deaf and the actress has a prosthetic leg, so therefore Echo has a prosthetic leg. So everything of note in the third episode, Echoes, happens in about the first 10 minutes. After getting to know a very young Echo, we do indeed get another Ronin flashback. Now, in the comics, the Kingpin killed Echo's father and then raises her. In this show, she's raised by her father, and in that flashback scene, she witnesses Ronin killing him. Now, I have to wait for the context before I judge this too harshly, but as it stands right now, I hate this. Why do I hate something that could be interesting? Well, maybe it has something to do with Disney's past record of deconstructing established male characters.
Down with the patriarchy.
Now, they present Echo's dad in this show as some sort of soulful saint who just happens to work for a criminal organization. As with most Marvel things these days, the most talked about thing about this series is a cameo, jangling keys, the possibility of the Kingpin showing up, or possibly Charlie Cox from Daredevil. I want to caution everyone. Remember Mephisto. Remember Jack Schaefer, the writer for WandaVision, didn't even know who he was, yet everyone was convinced he was going to show up. Yes, we did get the Quicksilver cameo, and that fell flat on its face. So when people want Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin or Charlie Cox's Daredevil in a Disney Plus series, be prepared to be disappointed, because you will never see something as good as Daredevil on Disney Plus. On Disney Plus, Vanessa will be the Kingpin. And in the third episode, we did indeed get a Kingpin cameo, his arm, and a little laugh. That was most definitely Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. Before you get too excited, I just want to ask you one question. Do you think we're going to see the Kingpin decapitate a guy with a car door on Disney Plus? Again, Daredevil season 1 was a masterpiece because it will go places Disney will never go. Not even on Hulu. On Disney Plus, you can't even go hard PG-13, much less hard rated R. So we're back in present day in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I believe is 2025. And no, I don't have
I still can't get over how much of how much his microphone looks like a penis. It just won't leave my head. I don't.
Any idea what impact Kang has on this series? Apparently, the multiverse should be unraveling right now, but maybe they haven't worked out. So Kate and Clint are being held captive by the tracksuit mafia while they wait for Echo, and I guess she made them wait all night because it was nighttime at the end of the second episode, and it's daytime at the beginning of the third episode. Clint, of course, is duct taped to a unicorn because we can't go 5 minutes without subtly or not so subtly emasculating a man on a Disney Plus show. And we're still on this Ronin costume thing, and this is starting to drag a bit because we all know Clint was Ronin, and it's all about waiting for the other characters to figure out what we already know. But we're not quite at the Clint's world closing in on a moment, which we probably should be considering we're almost halfway through the series, and we're still on the trying to convince everyone Kate is not Ronin, which is obvious. Clint tells Echo that Ronin is dead and he was killed by Black Widow, and he knows this because he was there. Echo and Kazi aren't buying it because they think the story's a little bit too convenient. After properly chastising Kate Bishop for her overconfidence, Clint finally escapes. At about the 15-minute mark at the episode, something actually happens. Clint fires his first arrow in the Hawkeye show, only after getting his ass beat by Echo. And we have a cutesy fight scene in the abandoned KB Toys where people are throwing stuffed animals at each other, falling in ball pits, and fighting each other with shopping carts. And yes, people do have guns, but there's no danger of them actually shooting anybody. This is Disney Plus. And after finally seeing Hawkeye shoot some arrows in the Hawkeye show, we're off to the car chase scene that everyone's watched on YouTube. Now, Hawkeye is going deaf due to his past exploits, and his hearing aid is broken during the fight with Echo. And prior to fighting, Echo counsels him a little bit on his hearing aid, telling him to ditch it and just rely on his senses. So Clint is driving and he can't hear Kate. She's firing off all the trick arrows, and I'm pretty sure she murdered somebody here. The car chase ends with the Avenger, Clint Barton, and the novice yet highly decorated collegiate athlete,
Man, they
Kate
hate
Bishop,
women.
jumping off a bridge. And the rest of the episode is pretty much people sitting around and talking. Although on the train, Clint does indeed tell Kate she is one of the world's best archers.
You're not wrong. Call yourself one of the world's greatest archers.
Over lunch, Kate and Clint are talking. She tries to convince him that he's an inspiration, although he says he's not a role model. She once again talks about his branding problem and designs him a costume. Then Disney Marvel decides to use this as a moment to clown Hawkeye's original costume. And I hate this on so many levels. It reminds me of this.
Sorry, what was your name again?
Dr. Otto Octavius.
Wait, no, seriously, what's your actual name?
Remember when superheroes wore costumes and Marvel took itself seriously? Yeah, it seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? Later on, we get a conversation between Kazi and Echo where Kazi reminds her that she shouldn't take too much time on this person.
Honestly, I don't think them, like, in order to grow, right, one needs to be able to look inward and laugh at themselves sometimes. And I think that's what Marvel's doing with the older costumes that definitely wouldn't translate to live action. Gary, I think it's not a bad thing for them to look at it and be like, ha, it's kind of funny. Like with WandaVision when they wore them for Halloween. It's not a bad thing. We know that some of those costumes just simply won't translate to live action. But to use that to paint your narrative, to paint your picture, we get it, right? We get it, Gary. We get it.
Personal vendetta to find out who Ronin is because, of course, Ronin killed her Faza. And then she has to remind him who is Girl Boss.
You are.
Now that they've escaped the tracksuit mafia for what is the third or fourth time in 3 episodes, we're back to the did Jack kill his Uncle Armand thing, which is something I honestly could care less about. And after breaking into Kate's mom's flat...
Dude, Nerdrotic, Gary, no one cares about you. No one. All you do is form an echo chamber of hate and spread it through the internet. Oh God, it's like exhausting. Is it ever exhausting for you to wake up and think, oh God, how am I going to be angry today?
and hacking her computer. The episode ends with Jack holding a sword to Clint's throat. And if you walk away from this episode feeling like you've seen a lot of it, well, you have, especially that car chase scene, which has been out for a couple of months on YouTube. The good in this series, at least it attempts to have fun. I think Jeremy Renner's character is shown a very surprising reverence that I appreciate. I think Haley Steinfeld is charming at times and annoying at other times. And I can see why a lot of people were comparing this to a Netflix series that isn't Daredevil season 1 and 2, because it seems like it's about an hour and a half of plot stretched out over 6 episodes. The bad in this series, the entire second episode was unnecessary. That could have been dealt with in 5 minutes. Then there's all the contrived moments in the first episode. So the Avengers just left all their stuff behind after Avengers Endgame. Kate just happens upon a black market auction that's selling the Ronin sword and costume. Oh, and the costume fits. And Deus Ex dogs who just happened to attack the tracksuit mafia guy right when he found the watch.
Dude,
Clint seeing a LARPing sticker on a fire truck, leading him to the entire unnecessary LARPing scene. And the monogrammed candy. And the stories are going to get more contrived as we get these tokenized and derivative characters. And without a doubt, this was a bait and switch. Not as bad as Loki, but a bait and switch nonetheless. The trailers made it look like it was going to be a Hawkeye show featuring Kate Bishop, not a Kate Bishop show featuring Hawkeye. Speaking of Loki, Hawkeye's Disney Plus premiere underperformed Loki's by a significant amount. Hawkeye's 2-part premiere.
Okay. Here we go. This is what I've been waiting for. They are using this to paint the picture that Hawkeye is a flop. Loki was arguably one of the biggest shows of 2021. Their sources on this are a stat that compared Hawkeye, the Hawkeye premiere to Loki premiere, right? But now they're calling the whole series a flop based on this. Their sources are A, themselves, and B, that stat. So it's just a constant revolving door. They play their own sources. Each other is a source. And then these small like stat companies that really don't garner exact numbers. They're more like glimpses into the larger picture. So here, now he's going to try to paint this series as being a flop because he's went out and shitted on it for the past 25 minutes or so.
On Disney Plus underperformed compared to Loki, WandaVision, and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And since they didn't get any data from What If because it was so low, Hawkeye is the lowest performing live action series for Marvel on Disney Plus, period. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. The latest viewership numbers reveal.
Samba TV tracks, now as you can really see, Samba TV is prominent here. Samba TV, which tracks viewership numbers for 3 million households in the US, right? 3 million households. And it's like Samsung TVs that have a certain feature. Again, it's not supposed to be exact. It's supposed to give you a glimpse into the larger picture, right? Because not everyone has a Samsung. Not everyone has this. Not everyone has that, right? And they only survey a very minuscule number. So that's where they're painting their picture here.
Hawkeye's premiere was the lowest performing Marvel live action series on Disney Plus. Samba TV, which tracks viewership numbers for 3 million households in the US, reported that Hawkeye's premiere episode brought in 1.5 million households.
So out of those 3 million, 1.5 million watched it. There are a lot more than 3 million households in the United States. And Samba only tracks Samsung.
Across its first 5 days on Disney Plus. That's important wording right there. The show dropped its first 2 episodes Wednesday, November 24th during the Thanksgiving weekend on the streaming service, and it seems 1.3 million of those initial viewers stuck around for the second outing, meaning 200,000 people dipped out when all they had to do on a holiday weekend was wait 2 seconds for the second episode to start. So why do I think Disney Plus is having performance issues and Hawkeye is underperforming? Well, it's a cumulative effect. You want to build something new, fine, but stop destroying the foundation to do it. Stop vandalizing, destroying, and degrading the established male characters. Now, I don't think that's what's happened to the character yet in Hawkeye in the first 3 episodes. While there's still great potential for that to happen, I do think his role's been diminished. I do think this is a bait and switch, but I also think the show might be suffering from what came before in WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki. And this is all deliberate. Kevin Feige said so back in 2018. Marvel boss wants more female than male heroes in the MCU.
Oh my God. Guys, do you know who published this article? Do me a favor. Look into this article and tell me why it is he brought up this article specifically. That's your homework. Let me know for next episode. Again, echo chamber.
Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has stated that his plans for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe will mix things up for their roster of heroes. In his future plans, Feige has revealed that the number of female superheroes will soon outnumber the male superheroes, which will be an enormous change, most likely for the better.
Very taken out of context, very misworded, and very misguided.
And how's that working out for you now, Kevin? You could throw in all the girl bosses and heroes you want. You still need to tell a good story. And quantity doesn't necessarily translate into quality. Just look at the last year for Marvel. And if you had so much faith in the female characters, why did you have to resort to the bait and switch with Loki and now with Hawkeye? So we're 3 episodes in and we're halfway through
this.
What
is he talking about with Loki? What the fuck? What was bait and switched? Dude, it was a Loki show. Just because there was a female Loki in it? Is that what he's referring to? Like, this guy is so stupid.
Series, and while there's some interesting elements, it still feels like we're stuck in the mud. But I'll be back once it's all over to review the Kate Bishop show, guest starring Hawkeye. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com.
Dude, Nerdrotic.com is not a legitimate website, by the way. It's a trash website. Don't ever use Nerdrotic.com to get your nerd news. Please do that. Do me that favor. Clearly, what we're seeing here is basically Gary painting a picture using data from Samba TV, which only tracks 3 million households, and it only tracks Samsung TVs with a certain something in it. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but he's using that plus his own echo chamber of these PC flops, right? Like it's all just a big revolving door of negativity and hate, and nothing's good enough, especially when it comes to Marvel, especially when it comes to females. If there's a female in it and they're even remotely a lead, they're gonna trash it. And that's what we need to start observing for these guys. They hate females, they hate diversity, and they hate inclusion. That's plain and simple. That's what it is. They dislike everything about representation. They don't want it. It's not even like it can be even mentioned. It can't even, like the reference in Hawkeye, right, is such a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing, with the bombshell referring to, oh, my wife got me this. Such a minuscule thing, yet they blew that out of proportion. Most people didn't even really hear it. You know why? It's because we're normal people and we don't look for these things. Like, it doesn't matter who this woman's wife is. It doesn't matter if it's a wife or a husband, right? Because that doesn't do anything to the character. The character is still the character. If it doesn't change anything in the development or the arc, why do you let it take up so much space in your head? It blows my mind. It blows my mind. And you're never going to enjoy anything if you act like this. Like, if you think like this, you're never going to enjoy anything. You're going to always be looking for something to spew out and hate on. I couldn't even imagine living like this guy, or Geeks and Gamers, or Doom Idiot, Doom Cuck. It disgusts me. It really does. It disgusts me. All right, guys, that was another episode of Combating Hate. Guys, remember always, love each other, respect each other. It doesn't matter if you're blue, black, white, green, if you're Thanos, if you're Dark Side, doesn't matter, right? If you're Gamora, doesn't matter. Nebula, you could be blue or green, doesn't matter. We're all one people. And fandom is a thing because it's a community of people that share the same love for something. These guys, they don't know what fandom means. They're not a part of fandom. No, because they don't want to be in a community of people that love something. They want to form. It's almost anti-fandom is what they do. They want to get people riled up, angry. And that's not what fandom is. That's not what it's about. You know, I don't hate you if you watch these guys, if you enjoy them. But remember, at the end of the day, they don't know what they're talking about. They're in it for your money. And that's it. That's it. Guys, make sure to like this video, share it across social media so we can combat hate together. God, it's like exhausting. Honestly, it's exhausting talking about these idiots. Follow us on all social media platforms. All the links are in the description below. And you can become a member. First low is $2.99 a month. And help us out. Help us out because we don't spread hate. And we like to like things, and we like to promote things. So if you like to help, if you like to like things, if you like to help things and promote them, and just have conversations about the fairy tale creatures and made up characters that we enjoy, then yeah, become a member. All right, help us out. You can also send a super chat if we're live, guys. We do it for you, and we do it for the culture.